The Alberta of Preston Manning's youth might be described similar to how one writer spoke of his own upbringing as a world with dew still on it, more touched by wonder and possibility than any I have since known. Born in Edmonton into a political family whose father, Ernest Manning, became the Premier of Alberta in 1943, it is perhaps why Preston Manning became known both for his ideas and prairie populism in its most positive sense. At age 12, the almost teenager lived on a family dairy farm east of Edmonton, where he attended Horse Hill High School. Educated at the University of Alberta, Preston's first run for politics was in 1965 in Edmonton East as a Social Credit Party candidate for Member of Parliament. Preston did not win, yet. After graduating from university the very next year, he began work for a small think tank described by the New York Times as one that battled creeping socialism. That would be a lifelong fight. Preston soon married Sandra Beavis in 1967. Their family would eventually grow to encompass 5 children and 14 grandchildren. The ideas that animated Preston Manning included small-c conservative principles of freedom, limited government, and working from the bottom up and not the top down. Those were all practiced by Preston in his consulting work, including working with energy companies to bring investment into remote communities, including First Nations. Those principles were supplemented by Preston Manning's belief that faith can also play a constructive role in the pluralistic public square. Preston Manning would, in the 1980s, channel Western discontent into a new political party, the Reform Party, with its positive motto, "The West Wants In," which eventually became Canada's official opposition. That motto was, and is, vintage Preston Manning, positive and reflective of attempts to improve Canadian public life when it needed reform, quite literally. Preston's and his party's ideas were foundational to not only the Conservative Party of Canada, but almost all Canadian parties when its attention to deficits, debt, and taxes became mainstream in the 1990s. Ernest Preston Manning is a political entrepreneur, a husband, a father, a grandfather, and a man of deep faith. Preston is known for his integrity, wit, ideas, and principled action. All of that and more have made, and can still make, Canada a better country for all. For all these reasons and more, the Aristotle Foundation for Public Policy is proud to award its very first Gordon Gibson Memorial Citizenship Award to Preston Manning.
At the urging of some of the professors in the University of Calgary's economics department, I attended the Western Assembly in Vancouver in May of 1987, where I first met Preston. And what immediately impressed me was his intellectual take on the issues of the day. But Preston was no abstract intellectual. He was a man of action. And his actions in creating the Reform Party and tapping into the real concerns of ordinary Canadians have been a major force in shaping Canada's political landscape to this day. Back in the 1990s, he was the first major public figure to propose new approaches to Canada's fiscal challenges and to the problems of national unity. And his proposals, particularly on economic issues, ended up largely shaping the policies of Canada's federal and provincial governments for many years. And of course, Preston's later efforts to create a coherent and unified conservative movement in Canada laid the groundwork for the new Conservative Party of Canada, for the government I led, and for a new generation that continues to fight for the conservative cause. That is quite a legacy. To Preston, Sandra, and your entire family, there is simply no one more deserving of the inaugural Gordon Gibson Memorial Citizenship Award. Congratulations.